Okay, am I on? Yes. I'll start the sign-in sheet around in a few minutes once I figure everybody is finished eating. Couple of announcements. I want to give you the Snyk schedule for the rest of the semester. Next week, I will not be here, as I'm sure you all know if you read that stupid email I sent out. But Professor Jones will be, and she will be having a session on plagiarism, just in time for your legal methods papers, and clerkships, which is a really cool thing you can do following law school. So that's next week's session. November 12th, we're having what's called bystander training. It's basically diversity training, but with an additional twist. I mean, my feeling is we're all good people, we all want to do the right thing, and occasionally you see something that is wrong, and you think, how do I handle this situation? Without getting in trouble or having a physical altercation. So we'll be talking about diversity, we'll be talking about microaggressions, but within the context of bystander training, what to do when you see something. November 19th, that is the week your legal methods memos are due. There will be no Snyk because I'm not that mean. And November 26th will be our last Snyk. That will be Bill Richards again talking about how to take a law school exam. Second issue is emails. I think Professor Wong was going to be talking about this, but some of you have not responded to Lori Nelson's email about one of the leadership lunches on November 13th. Now, not all of you were invited this time, but some of you were. Please let her know whether you can attend or not so she can invite other people. Also, Professor Wong made comments on your assignments. If you would like to pick up your assignment, you can swing by my office, pick it up, and that will give us a chance to meet because I haven't met all of you yet. That's all the announcements. Any questions? Okay, it is all yours.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, here is the sign-up sheet.
Oh, thanks.
How fun. We'll mark everyone absent. No, okay. Hello. Welcome to the Professionalism Snyk session. So professionalism makes this day, hour, whatever, sound like a super snooze, but don't let the name fool you. This is where I teach you the dark art of making your client's boss an annoying ant like you just a lot more. So today we're going to do two things. I'm going to give you some advice about best practices, and then we're going to talk a little bit about email assignments that you guys turn in. And as Dean Dickey said, I did actually mark up all of the assignments that were turned in. So you do have individual comments on all of your assignments. So please do pick those up because my hand is still not the same after grading all of those. So please don't make that in vain. And okay, so we'll start right away. So who's got a notebook with you today? Hey, good for you. Now, why did you bring a notebook? Red notebook man over here. So you can take notes. That's great. So the first practice tip I have for you is to always bring a notebook. So before I started as a law professor, I worked as a mergers and acquisitions lawyer representing corporate clients, and I worked at a very big, scary corporate firm that inspired this book, Barbarians at the Gate. The lawyers are the barbarians mentioned herein. And the book is about the law firm launching a hostile takeover for $25 billion of RJR Nabisco, which is a food conglomerate. But look, here's the thing about corporate barbarians. You don't just one day wake up and rip off your shirt and put on these really beautiful spiky cuffs and you go club some stuff. You got a plan. And being a corporate lawyer is all about having meetings and conference calls. And what should you have at your meeting and conference calls? A notebook to write stuff down in. Yes, that's the burn book from Mean Girls. So this weekend, I did something very special. So I've moved, a bunch of times over the last few years. And I have these big boxes in my basement full of stuff. I don't know what they are, but I opened it up and it's full of notebooks. Just tons and tons of notebooks, like half-used notebooks from my times in practice. So I attempted to carefully excise the parts of it that had client notes, and I brought these for you. So you may have a vintage Huang notebook from practice. So who are our lucky winners today? Who does not have a notebook? Oh, now everybody has a notebook. You don't want my notebooks, guys? They're great. This horse one will do nicely. Very professional. Okay, so obviously you bring a notebook with you to take notes. This also suggests that you're taking notes by hand, not by your computer. Anyone know why that is the case? Raise your hand. Somebody's got to know. Come on, participators. Oh, am I going to have to call on someone? Yes, purple. Oh, it gets in your mind better. That's great. I got you this Twix as a reward. Oh, sorry. I almost killed your friend. All right. Anyone else? I have candy now. I have candy. Now you have to raise your hand. Yes, person in the back. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that and writing notes by hand does that. And I was like, you usually try to create a barrier. Sorry. I'm like, does that work well for you? Communicate it like this? Yes, there's where I will kill. Yes, you might have Facebook and stuff. You know how a lot of your professors are lovely humans and they record classes in case you miss them or whatever? You know, sometimes, when we go to see the recordings, we can, see what you're doing, right? So, I was once, not that I, watch myself talk, because that's really weird, but I was just, I was looking on the recording to see if I gave out the assignment at the end of class, and I was like, what's that kid doing? Is that kid watching other people play League of Legends? What is going on? Anyways, so those are great things. You retain information better. The other big reason is that you don't want to type anything ever. Do not put it in a computer if you don't want it to show up on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. So that's my second tip. Never write anything down, in general, but also never write anything on a computer, like in a Word document, in a Google Doc, anything that you don't want on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. So let's say that you are on a call with a client and you're taking notes in your burn book, and the client suddenly says, hey, I'm thinking about taking some money out of the corporate coffers on my way out, but my partners are not cool with it. But I can do that, right? Well, what your client is describing here is fraud minimum, embezzlement maximum. So a bad idea would be for you to email the partner you're working with and say, hey, my client's thinking about embezzling, because that could end up on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Associate ask partner via email, client is defrauding, what should I do? That would be really bad. So when in doubt, don't write it down. And while I have you, let me share some other things that you should never write down. These are real things that have happened in my place of work. So, talking smack about your boss. Remember AOL Instant Messenger? So at one of my summer jobs when I was in college, I was an intern in the HR department. And one person was IMing the other person. That's instant messengering. I know that was really before your time. But anyways, texting, let's call it, computer texting. And they were talking about how their boss really sucks. Then they went to the bathroom, and then when they came back, security was waiting for them at the bathroom, at their desk, to escort them out of the building and their career. So that's not super great. Don't do that. If you're going to say bad stuff about your boss, keep it IRL, in real life. I'm really revealing my level of uncoolness, right, with my old references. Okay, so the other thing you don't want to do is talk about shirking work. At the place where I worked, the legal assistants all shared one office, so there were 6 or 7 of them in one office. They came up with this plan where every once in a while they were going to leave early and they were going to swipe each other out. They were going to take their ID badges and just one person would stay late, the sacrifice, and they would swipe every single person out after 5 o'clock, and everyone else would leave early to go get happy hour oysters. They all got fired, all of them. One day you get into the legal assistant office and they were all gone. So don't document work shirking. I should also mention that you should be super careful about what you write on social media. I worked for a judge that simply would not let his clerks go on social media. The good reason is that people have very bad judgment about what they put there. And you don't want that stuff to be on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. There's like stuff that's a little bit less obvious. So let's say that you're going to a client meeting, a super secret client meeting at the client's office. And you walk into the building, nice big building. On the bottom floor is a cafe. And the cafe says, if you check in on Yelp, you can get a free flavor shot in your latte. I really like pumpkin spice. I like it most when it's free. It tastes better. But don't check into that cafe because suddenly you're going to reveal where you are in Milwaukee on a secret meeting or whatever that may be. Real deals and cases have actually been blown by stuff like this, for real, because people check in on Yelp to places that they otherwise shouldn't be. And in case you're wondering, yes, your employers and maybe even your professors, I will not name names, do sometimes search on social media for you, and they do find things that you'd rather not be found. My next tip is 80% is how it looks. When I was a summer associate, I was once trapped at a summer associate party with a very old partner. And what I wanted to do was eat these very fancy shrimps that were wrapped in this coconut business. I was valuing them at about $1 a shrimp, which as a person with a lot of student loans was a lot of shrimp that I had to be getting back at that time as a return on my investment. So I was very busy with the shrimp eating. And this partner was very busy with the advice giving. So I had to listen to his advice. And I was really glad I did because he actually gave me the best advice I've ever received, which is 80% is how it looks. So this is a little cryptic. Does anyone know what that means? Ooh, yes. When you write a memo, the structure of it makes it 80% better. So I'm really happy you've learned something in legal writing, that there's a certain way we do things in the law, and doing things that certain way makes you seem smart and good. Yes, should I offer you this sugar as a reward, my dolphin friend? Can you perform better with sugar? Yes, in the back. Yeah, so okay, that's good. Okay, you're really far away, sir. And the last time I saw you during intern week, you were sitting over here, and you were dressed like that person sitting over here, so that's very confusing. Okay, let's do this. Yeah, I sort of made it. Good job. Okay, so say that again. Sorry, I was really focused on throwing this candy at you and not on what you... Mercury person, hello, man, gentleman, what did you just say? Even if it's an innocent, you were like, I forget candy. Yeah, people, if it looks bad, people are going to notice the bad stuff, right? Anything else? Yes. Ooh, first impressions matter a lot. Excellent. Oh, that is, wow. Good job. You're like that guy who caught that thing during the Cubs playoff game. People hate him. You know that, right? He had to, move out of the city. In case you didn't see it, your classmate here, reached over the front and caught it. Anyways, yeah, so 80% of how it looks is a way of saying, a lot of what you're getting judged on is presentation. So in law school, you spend a lot of time working on substance, right? What does this case actually mean? How do you actually get your point across? And that's really important, that's really hard. But the thing is, when you meet your client doesn't know anything. Your client knows nothing, so to speak. So if your client knew a lot about the law, you wouldn't have a job, right? So we should all be happy about this. So if your client doesn't know the substance of what you're doing, of the law, what they're really judging you on is presentation. And out in the workplace, one of the only chances you get to let your substance shine is if you show first great form and presentation. So you gotta have some really good packaging. So what does this mean in practical terms? You should never, ever, ever send anything without proofreading it. When I first got this advice, I was like, I just saw the sands of my life just dripping away. I was like, really? I have to proofread every email, every text message, every grocery list. Like, is this for real? And it's for real. But it's not going to take you very long because, and it's also super important because, look, your clients are probably reasonably savvy people, right? They're smart enough to know that whatever it is that they're up to, they're going to be better off if they hire a lawyer. So they also probably don't know very much about the law. But what do they know? They know what makes a good email. They know how words are spelled and how grammar is done. They know how periods are used and how capitalization is used. They know how their own name is spelled. So if you get all those things right, you're really showing a client that you care about the stuff that's really easy, so you're probably going to care about the stuff that's really hard. Professor Davies thoughtfully put together this humorless but useful. That is this is not being recorded. Humorless but useful slide about common grammar mistakes. Now, every class has a quirk, I've noticed, and this class's quirk is this very last one down here. Number 20, all right is not one word. All right is two words. We're never ever going to use the word all right again, except in a text message. You can use it in a text message. So this presentation stuff extends beyond your written work as well. So you should also be very reliable. That's part of your presentation. So the idea you should be kind of going forward with, your little mantra is, if you entrust me with something, it's going to be off your plate. I will take care of it. What does this mean? So let's say that I accidentally leave all of your grades, like here on the ground. What does it mean if I can trust somebody to do something? I might call Dean Dickey and say, hey, I just headed home, but I noticed I left all the grades on the ground. Can you go back and get them for me? And she's like, yeah, I'm in the building. I'll take care of it. Because I can trust her, I will never think about that problem again. If I could not trust her, I would worry about it forever. So you want to be the kind of person who people can trust to do something, to take care of it. Always turn in stuff on time. That means work assignments, but also assignments for law school, your bar application. Like, you'd be surprised when your bar applications come due in a couple of years, how many people will come to a professor's office and be like, can you please say that I am of good character and moral fitness and I'm very professional? This is due in 1 hour. And you're like, sure. That seems like a professional thing that we're engaging in right now. And here's another big one. You should always RSVP for stuff if you're going. Don't show up unannounced. If you RSVP for something, you should never, ever no-show. Unless you have a bona fide emergency, like you got hit by a bicycle, or you have food poisoning. Otherwise, like, I just got a better offer, like, I forgot that Sandal was on tonight, my mom made lasagna and called and asked if I wanted to come over. These are all terrible excuses. This is really, really important, right? Because sometimes the school organizes stuff like a meet and greet with a judge, and people RSVP and then they don't show up, and then the judge thinks that we're all a bunch of idiots. And it reflects so poorly not only on the people who RSVP'd, but also on the whole school. So it's really, really important if you RSVP to show up. And then finally, I just can't emphasize this enough. You must proofread everything in your entire life. I proofread these notes that I am looking at right now, even though nobody else will ever see them. Even short emails. You especially want to make sure that you spell everybody's name correctly. There's nothing that will get a judge or a partner annoyed faster than you spelling the judge or the partner's name wrong. Man, like, I have literally seen complaints where someone spelled the judge's name wrong. Can you imagine? That's so scary. We have different fears, I guess. No one else seems afraid. Okay, and finally, always, I have more things before this funny slide. Okay. Also, make sure you spell everyone's unusual name correctly. As somebody who has a relatively unusual last name spelling, I will say that I will judge you hardcore if you spell it wrong. But yeah. And finally, always comport yourself professionally. This means you dress and you behave professionally at all times. So what does this mean? Anyone here from the Southeast? You're Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, yes, hello. Anybody, have you guys driven in snow? Yeah. You have now? Welcome, welcome. This is fun. Okay, so in the Southeast, you know, your Arkansas, Alabama, Louisianas of the world, there's not a whole lot of snow. So recently there was a little bit of snow on the ground, and somebody offered this advice to people who are driving in the snow in the southeast. If you rarely drive in snow, pretend that you're taking your grandma to church. There's a platter of biscuits and 2 gallons of sweet tea in glass jars in the back seat. She's wearing a new dress and holding a crock pot full of gravy. That's how you're supposed to drive in snow. So behave professionally means whenever you are behaving in a professional setting, pretend that that lady is watching. So that means that if you say something that is inappropriate, or you dress like Alvin and the Chipmunk to an interview, this lady is going to be giving you some serious side eye. So just, that's how I like to think of it. And now my very best practice tip is to think about the law as a service industry. So how many of you had a really bad experience on a flight where your flight was canceled and you had to get through go through like a horrible ordeal to get it rescheduled? Anybody? Yes. Hail, track, and field. Tell me about that. You were where? You were stuck in Atlanta for 2 days. Anyone been to Atlanta Airport? Yes, it's a small metropolis of death, right? Like there's so many people. It's busier than most small countries, but everything is airport prices. So you're eating like $12 worth of 3-carat sticks. It's really quite bad. Anyways, okay. So let's say, Mr. Hail, Track, and Field, what is your real name? Yes. What is your last name? Mr. Schultz. Okay. Twix? We're going to work together for a bit. All right, so Mr. Schultz, let's say you are flying from San Francisco to Salt Lake one day. Your flight is canceled. I'm the person at the customer service desk. You wait in line for like 90 minutes, right? You finally get to me, and I look at you, and I'm like, the best I can do for you is a middle seat tomorrow night. You're going to have to fly through Anchorage to get from San Francisco to Salt Lake. Take it or leave it. How do you feel right now? Yes, pretty terrible, unhappy, excellent. And we're going to play a little game. So somebody is going to help Mr. Schultz become a happier customer. I will reward you with a gift from this wizard hat, which in case you haven't noticed is full of candy. So the person who, we'll just see how it goes. Okay, so who can make this better? Who can do better than I just did? Yes. Ooh, I like you. Okay, you people in the front need to stop because I'm not very good at this. Okay, so your name is? Miss Clark. Miss Clark says it's all about framing, right? She doesn't have anything better to offer, but she's saying, I'm going to get you on the first flight out, which happens to be tomorrow night, and I'm going to move you closer to the front of the plane. It's still a middle seat. She doesn't mention that, but she's just framed it a little better, which is great. Anyone else? Anyone have a better idea? Yes.
I apologize for the inconvenience. I understand we're not going to back to help you, and it looks like we can get you on a flight to Anchorage. It is a middle seat, however.
Okay, so that's pretty good. You have a nice, I hear you, I apologize, I understand your concerns, but let me try my best for you, and this is what we can do. Yeah, in the back. This is the best I can do, but let me get your number and I'll call or text you if, I can get you something better. Secret, you don't actually have to do anything, but this is going to make you feel like you're still working on their issue, right? You got like 85 other customers behind them. You're never going to call them. But this gets them out of your desk. This is great. Okay, any other ones? Let's do a last one. Anyone ever actually work at a customer service desk? Yes. Okay. Give me your best shot. I'll give you this fortifying. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So try to understand where they're coming from, relate to them. So I like personally starting with something nice, like, thank you for waiting. I understand it's been a really long day. I rebooked your ticket. Here's the Miss Clark line. Our next available flight is tomorrow night, rather than I booked you on a terrible flight tomorrow. Maybe a little better, you could say, oh, this is actually my little tip for you. You can almost always swap out the word but for and. So the first sentence here says, I rebooked your flight, but our next available flight is tomorrow night. The word but always sounds like you are like offering something terrible to someone. Nothing good ever happens after a but, right? Like, I really enjoyed this dinner that you prepared from scratch for me, but I am allergic to shellfish and I will soon die. Like, this is terrible. You always want to say, nothing good happens after a but, everything good happens after an and. So the second sentence says, I rebooked your ticket and something good is happening, our next available flight is tomorrow night. So if you've ever taken logic class in college, or if you remember the logic section from the LSAT, the words but and actually serve the same purpose. You can just swap them out, and you can, swap them out and reread the sentence to make sure it makes sense, and you can usually make it sound like something awesome is coming up. You might also offer some solutions for try to anticipate the needs of what the customer might want. I rebooked your flight. I've also, I've gone ahead and booked it, but we can always change it if you prefer a different flight, or we're going to call you if something better comes up. I also got you some vouchers for food because I know you're going to ask for those, and I booked your hotel for tonight because I know you're going to ask for that as well. When you're interacting in a legal setting, you want to do exactly the same thing. You want to anticipate what your client needs next, and just go ahead and show that you've done a little extra work. Questions so far? Okay. So this brings us to our second agenda item, which is reviewing your emails. So before we get there, let me just say that the emails were great. I actually never tell the 2Ls that you guys actually did better than them as a whole, which was like, it warms my heart. But let me share with you some feedback that I've gotten about this email assignment. I've had a chance to do it for a couple of years now. So perhaps you will find this email section extra helpful after you read these testimonials, perhaps, from previous classes. Yesterday, a partner I work for wrote me an email to tell me what a great job I did responding to an email that a client had emailed to me, someone from the class of 2018. These email tips, people are like putty in my hands. Class of 2017. I did not get any email tips, and I am sad. Classes of 1913 through 2016. So this is going to be you. You're going to get some good email tips. You're going to make everyone putty in your hands, etc. Okay, so first tip is let's talk about how to address your recipient. So generally, I think these are all perfectly good. Dear Susan, hi all team, Jane, hi Jane. I saw a bunch of really great ones. Hi Pat, dear Pat, hello Pat, just Pat, nothing, no salutation. These are all perfectly great. I will note that you might have noticed in the email assignment that Pat called herself Pat. And you should always call people by the name that they prefer to call themselves. So for those of you who noticed that she goes by Pat, good job. But obviously if everyone got these perfectly, we wouldn't be talking about this. So let me just show you some that gave me a chuckle. These are, let's call them inspired by true stories, kind of like a Lifetime movie. So are you guys ready? Hey, Pat. Hey, Arnold. Hey is what you do when you're like texting your little brother. Like, hey, can you bring your truck by to help me move my mattress? No, not for a partner. Here's another fun one. Greetings, Patricia. Greetings, Earthlings. Like that one as well. There was this year for the very first time a Mrs. Patricia. You know more about Patricia than I do. Mrs., just a friendly tip, we don't use Mrs. in a professional setting anymore. All women are Ms., all dudes are Mr. And in fact, actually the Patricia on whom this assignment is based is a partner I work for. She goes by Pat, and she is a Ms. So this is my favorite one of all. I saw this more than once. It was really great. Dear Miss Patricia Partner, do you always write emails like that? Like, Dear Dean Barbara Dickey, Dear Professor Christopher Peterson, like full name, salutation, that is wild. Wild. Keep it simple, stick with Pat. All right, so second thing is I would start every email with a friendly sentence. Another partner I worked for said that you can always find something to thank about somebody, even those annoying people. So thank you for your note. Thank you for working on this. Sounds great. Will do. Something like that always works well. My favorite generic one, which I just pop in without thinking about very often, is thank you for your note. This works really well. Like someone sends you a stupid assignment on Friday night and they're like, can you please finish this by tomorrow? Thank you for your note. Your mother wants you to travel to northern Manitoba for your cousin's third wedding, even though you know this one is not going to work out any better than the other two. Thank you for your note. I made fun of you mercilessly about your email assignment, and now I'm emailing you wanting you to be my Quinny. Thank you for your note. That's a great way to start everything. All-purpose email opener that ensures that you start off on the right foot. Here are some other good ones from you. I'm excited to help you with these issues. I hope your travels are going well. I appreciate the opportunity to help you with these issues while you are away. And here is my personal favorite from someone who I call the law firm gunner. I actually don't remember which of you it is. Thank you so much for extending the opportunity for me to work with you on this case. I am looking forward to learning about this subject and contributing to the case. This kid is going to be like the governor of Utah. So if y'all like, I don't know, I genuinely don't remember who this is, but now Dean Dickey knows. Sorry, dear Dean Barbara Dickey knows. All right, so maybe a little over the top, but still, you know, friendly starter. But y'all don't want to see the good ones, right? You want to see the bloopers. So let's do some bloopers. I would like to take care of this for you. It would be a great help if you could just answer 3 questions. This is like a note from like a very demanding genie or a Comcast employee, right? Like it's like, ma'am, I would like to help you with your problems, but you got to narrow it down to 3 wishes. I would maybe go with like something a little less demanding. I'm happy to take care of this. I have 3 quick clarification questions. I would be grateful for your help. The other one that I thought was great was, I am currently swamped with another project and I can't start until tomorrow. Oh, Pat feels really bad for you. You know, she pays you like over $100 grand a year and you're busy. Pat does not care. Pat wants the project done. So Pat is not super sympathetic to this. She pays you $100 grand a year. Here's a quick fix that would actually change this. I look forward to starting this the first thing tomorrow, which is saying the exact same thing, but in a positive light. Here's another tip. Make your email really easy to read and respond to. So the partner has possibly limited cellular reception. She is probably on her BlackBerry because she's an old person and she doesn't know how to use an iPhone. She does not like reading huge blocks of text. So stuff like this, not super helpful. This is actually an example of this person asked really good, specific questions, shows that they've done some research, but I don't know how you feel when you see this block of text pop up. This is how I feel. So long. So instead, try maybe a bulleted list or a numbered list, which is a comment I gave a lot of you on your emails. If you break out your questions into a numbered list, then the partner on their phone can really easily respond like 1, yes, 2, no, 3, no. And that's really easy for them. Related tip is to respond as quickly as you can. So I was taught as an associate that you should respond within 1 hour during business hours and within 3 hours otherwise. Students who work with me on directed research as a Quinney Fellow or ask me to write a reference letter, I also ask them to respond to all of my emails within 1 hour during business hours or 3 hours otherwise. And that's because I think it's really, really good practice for client service. And when I respond to your emails, I try to respond within 1 hour during business hours or 3 hours otherwise. And if I'm not, you can be assured that I am in a meeting or that I am teaching or that I am dead. Those are the only 3 options for me not responding to you in a timely fashion. So I encourage you, when you receive an email, you must respond to it. And this is a fun challenge to really help with your anxiety and neuroses. Respond within 1 hour. Doesn't help, but it's good practice. Okay. Finally, you should end every email with an offer to help. Here's the thing. Partner's going to make you help on more stuff, whether you like to or not. So you might as well end with an offer to help because that's going to make you seem like a great person. So just say something like, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if I can help with anything else. About half a dozen of you remember to do this. So that was really great if you're one of those people. If not, thank you for your email at the top. Let me know if you have any questions or if I can help with something else at the bottom. And you're like 80% of the way there. Finally, again, proofread, run spell check, use bullets, be consistent. If your email service doesn't have spell check, read it super, super carefully. I gave you a really weird made-up name, Seth George. Does anyone know who Seth George is? Nobody has this internal curiosity? Has law school already stamped it out of you? Seth George. No? Oh my gosh. Well, it's a mashup. It's like a weird. It's like a Pig Latin name for Professor Jeff Schwartz, who actually does research about conflict minerals. So it's him. So yeah, here you're like, is it a celebrity? Is it a rock star? No, it's just a professor. Okay, it's a weird made-up name that you can't spell check, and that's why I gave it to you. Here are some fun bloopers from those who did not read the client's name carefully. This person, George apostrophe email, odd. This person decided that when something ends with a Z, apostrophe Z is the right answer. Now, replacing all S's with Z's is extremely great. I would like to do that at all times, but it's just unfortunately I'm not king, so I don't get to do that. But you know, when one of you becomes king, I encourage. So, by the way, when something belongs to George, apostrophe S. That's how it works. So those are some of the easy ones. Let me do some advanced dark arts. So first, really be proactive. If you're going to ask a question, try to give an answer to it. And this is something that I actually ask my students who are in my class to do. If you have a question about the class material, try to give me an answer, right? Like, I don't understand how this partnership works. I think the answer is X. And you'll be surprised, like 80% of the time, your answer is right. You just wanted someone to affirm that. So it also shows that you're really proactive and helpful and respectful of the other person's time if you offer a suggestion. And many of you did that, which is great. So for example, let's say you've just visited your aging aunt. You've noticed that she seems to be not doing so great. You could send an email to your mom that says, I just noticed that Aunt Mary seems to be in poor health. I don't know what to do, freak out. Which is not so great. Or you could do something like, I've noticed she's in poor health. Maybe we should hire a helper. I've looked at these local options, and this company seems to be really reasonably priced. This presents the problem and also presents a solution. So here's a nice sentence from one of your classmates. I looked on the firm's forms drive, and we have a confidentiality agreement from one of your previous cases. Would you like this one to be similar to that one? So good job, this person. So you can also say something like, I talked to such and such associate who you worked with last time. They suggested I use this. Is that a good place to start? Or is there a particular form that you've used before that you'd like me to start with? Those are all kind of helpful suggestions. And yes, this is my last and most evilest tip, which I've saved for you for last, and that is to say all negative things in the positive. So let's say someone asks you to do some work. I can't do this today, but I can do it on Tuesday. That sounds like kind of a downer. Instead, try something like, sounds great. This will be top of my list on Tuesday. You're saying the exact same thing, but it sounds really helpful. Same thing. I can't meet on Monday. I can only meet on Tuesday. Try, how would Tuesday work for you? And then finally, the three things that you should ask every time when you get a new assignment in nicer terms. What form would you like me to work, or what form would you like the product to look like? So like a memo or an email. When is the deadline? And how many hours would you like me to spend on this? Which is actually asking, what's the client's budget? Have you, are we billing the client for this? But instead of asking these questions, you say, how many hours do you want me to bill on this? How much time do you think I should spend on this? How much time would you like me to spend on this? And finally, if in doubt, ask questions. I recently had occasion to tell somebody that I grew up in an immigrant family. I'm the first woman in my family to go to college. A lot of the stuff that I'm telling you today, I kind of figured out either on my own or because people were very generous in sharing their tips and telling me things like, there's something wrong with your suit, looks funny. So if you have questions, I encourage you to use the resources here at the law school, use career services folks, use Dean Dickey, all of your professors. We're here to help you in terms of professionalism and what's the norm. No question is too stupid, so please ask them. So with that, I will stop here. Any questions? I see. The lunch, it has settled. Okay. Yes. Oh yeah, I should say, in the workplace, I would call everyone by how they sign their name, because you're the same as them, right? You're a lawyer. They're a lawyer, you're a lawyer. Professors and judges, I think you should go with judge whoever, no matter how they sign their name. And professors have this really irritating habit, myself included, of signing just their initials, and I'm like, what am I supposed to call you, right? Like, I can't even think of any, like, what's one that you've seen recently? Whatever, you know, letters. I'm not going to call you that. So yeah, always do professor. You know, like a really easy one to make sure you never screw it up, I've noticed, is that some students will just call all professors professor only, like it's your first name. They'll just be like, hello, professor. You're a professor. That's fine. Yeah. Hello, student. All of you will part very well. Any other questions? But that's a great point. Does anybody else want to be told they have a great point? No? You know, they say that millennials love affirmation, but y'all are just like, no, I hate affirmation. All right, cool. Well, you know where I am, which is in the building, 4th floor. You can drop by and ask some questions. I'll turn it over to Dean Dickey in case she has other stuff.
No, we're done.
Okie doke.